Thank you, comrades. May we all take our seats. I'm going to take this opportunity to tell Chairperson of the region to do the official opening of this gala dinner and the celebration, as well as the welcome. Comrade Chairperson Charles Makola, may you please take the podium. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Comrade Lina Malachi. Member of the National Executive Committee, Comrade Togo Titiza, and also the Minister for Public Works, Dabezita Makosonke Statu. Colleagues in the Regional Executive Committee, member of the Provincial Executive Committee and an ex-official member of the National Executive Committee, Comrade Mello, our Revolutionary Alliance in the South African Communist Party, COSATU, SANCO, Youth League, Women's League, our traditional leaders present, business leaders, comrades, friends. Allow me to take this opportunity to welcome you on behalf of the Regional Executive Committee of the ANC at this gala dinner. Colleagues may be aware that this gala dinner is the third gala dinner which was ever organized in the region. The first gala dinner was organized at the instance of business leaders who had the foresight that the victory of the African National Congress will benefit the country as a whole, including business community itself. They were correct in their assessment of the situation. They are still correct today, and I'm sure they'll be correct tomorrow. That gala dinner was graced by the Secretary General of the African National Congress, Comrade Kgalema. And indeed, over about 500,000 was raised in that gala dinner. The second gala dinner was organized just before the local government elections. An overwhelming number of business men and women, black and white, and leaders of our fraternal structures attended. And that gala dinner was graced by our Premier, a member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC. Over 600,000 was collected. Both these gala dinners enabled the African National Congress to fund its programs that enabled it to record a decisive victory in both the national and provincial elections, thus ensuring that the instrument of state power is steadily resulting into the hands of the motive forces for fundamental change. We call these victories the reinforcement of the revolutionary break with the past and the qualitative element in the achievement of the national democratic revolution. We call this conscious of the fact that the path for the transfer of power to the people, let alone the strategic objectives of the African National Congress of a united, non-racial, non-sexist, and a democratic society, which in a sense is the liberation of Africans in particular and blacks in general from the political and economic bondage, will be a protracted one. Your support for the two gala dinners assisted us to indeed get government stabilized and ready to deliver. Those of you who listened to the Minister of Finance in his midterm budget policy speech on the 25th of October 2005 on an aspect dealing with economic overview, he says South Africa is in the midst of its longest sustained economic expansion. Robust economic growth supported by strong consumer spending and rising investor confidence has created over 1 million jobs in the past 3 years. While unemployment remains our most pressing social and economic challenge, for the first time in the generation, the economy is creating jobs faster than new entrants are joining the labor force. Though it is too early to claim victory in the battle against unemployment, we can already see how growth and development work together to reduce poverty and improve livelihoods, how the policy choices we made decades ago are bearing fruits. The Minister continues to say, the key challenges we face as a country are to sustain this growth, broaden participation, and extend opportunities to all. We must strengthen our industrial capacity and deepen the quality of development. We must accelerate growth and share its benefits. And in celebrating the solid performance of our economy, we must continue to be mindful that there are still too many South Africans who go to bed hungry, too many who stare at the fragile walls of their shacks, far too many whom disease makes life a daily struggle. In the past 4 years, our economy has expanded by an average of 4.2% a year, with a growth reaching almost 5% last year. As he concludes, he says, some indicators of the economic activity suggest that the economy may in fact be growing faster than the preliminary data suggests. But we know that more needs to be done. Sustained and broad-based growth depends on more rapid progress in our industrial sector, on export, on trade performance, and on improving education skill and productivity. Alive to this challenge, in the province, the Premier, in his State of the Province address, makes a similar commitment, which commitment was also further made by our executive mayors in the 7 municipalities in the region when they were talking about the growing economy, for which the results are now being appropriately outlined by the Minister of Finance. In the various municipalities, each of the municipalities has got a very great potential and opportunities unimaginable. And I'm certain that these municipalities, these state organs, I'm certain in the past 5 years or so, many of the municipalities within the region were getting unqualified reports. I'm also certain that all the municipalities within the region had passed their IDPs, and I'm also certain that they have always continued to pass their budgets in time. And those addresses the needs of our communities. I'm also certain that these municipalities within the region, they participated in the national programs for the recognition of best practices in the country. And the 2 municipalities that represented us nationally is Emalahleni and Nkangala district in 2004. We came back with an award, and I still think we are still that award holder. The district is the only municipality in the country with a credit rating of a BBB+ by an international rating agency, let alone being the leading district on matters related to the expanded public works. When Fitch IPCA, the international rating agency, explained their rating, they say a BBB rating indicates a good credit quality, as there is currently expectation of low credit risks. The capacity for payment of financial commitment is considered adequate, but adverse changes in circumstances and economic conditions are more likely to impair this capacity. BBB is the lowest investment grade category. However, the plus sign indicates the relative position of the rating scale, and in the case of nkangala, this means that the direction of the rating is more towards the A rating category, where, for instance, the sovereign rating of South African Republic and electricity company Eskom are than towards a double B. The district shares the same rating category with some of the South African banks such as First Rand, Nedbank, Standard Bank, as well as the international bank operating in South Africa, such as the Bank of China, Banco, Privo, Portuguese. The work that went into the elections with your support yielded extremely positive results. This gala dinner tonight, raised by the Minister of Public Works, Minister Thoko Didiza, also comes at a very important and a critical time in the political history of our movement. Our region will be holding the Regional Congress on the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th of December. We will also be hosting the 95th anniversary celebration on the 12th of January next year at Atlantic Stadium here in Emalahleni. And I'm sure you are also aware that we will be holding, the ANC will be holding its policy and national conference next year. These events in the calendar of our movement are very crucial for the development of our communities. It is going to be important, therefore, for you to know who we are as members of the African National Congress. We have joined the ANC as individuals and have solemnly declared that we will abide by the aims and objectives of this organization that we have joined voluntarily, as set out in the Constitution, in the Freedom Charter, and other duly adopted policy positions. We are joining it, I'm talking about the African National Congress, voluntarily, without any motives of personal advantage or personal gain, that we agree to respect its constitution, the structures, and we agree that we will work as loyal members and that we will place our energies and skills at the disposal of the organization in order to make it a more effective instrument of liberation in the hands of the people. We agree as members of the African National Congress that we will defend the unity and integrity of the organization and its principles and combat any tendency towards disruption and factionalism. Our own structures elect executive structures to collectively uphold the culture, tradition, practice of the ANC and to continue to defend its unity and integrity. It is within this context that I say it is the ANC that must promote the spirit of Ubuntu in the society. It is the ANC that must lead by example. In this regard, I think if we can just look at what the President said in his memorial lecture, titled "Pursuit of Personal Wealth Undermines Social Cohesion and Human Solidarity." And he says, because of the infancy of our brand new society, we have the possibility to act in ways that would, for the foreseeable future, infuse the values of Ubuntu into our very being as people. But what it is that constitutes Ubuntu beyond the standard and yet correct redemption, mutu kabatu, umuntu ngabanye abantu. The President continues to say, in the despair that this developed, Taylor wrote in his famous book, Religious and Rise of Capitalism, to argue in a manner of Machiavelli that there is one rule for business and another for private life. Is open to the door an orgy of unscrupulousness before which the mind recoils, yet granted that I should love my neighbor as myself, the question which under modern conditions of large-scale economic organization remain for solutions like who precisely is my neighbor and how exactly I'm to make my love for him effectively in practice. The President concludes on that aspect to say, to separate labor from other activities of life and to subject it to the laws of the market was annihilate all organic forms of existence and replace them by a different type of organization, an atomistic and individualistic one. Building the spirit of Ubuntu and in line with our constitution will indeed require that the way we conduct business with yourself does not undermine the values that underpins the very existence of our organization, the ANC. And we must promote unity within and outside of the organization, and we must act in a manner that is organizational. We are aware that during difficult times, you get approached by different individuals, different stakeholders. If any amongst them approaches you for money, let's make sure that that money gets into the coffers of the African National Congress. Let's make sure that you take all the necessary steps to make sure that it is in the account and it can be accounted for tomorrow. Because if we do not do that, as business community, as colleagues, as cadres, we will contribute to what the President says is it's a demon embedded in the society that stalks us at every minute with every passing second. They advise with arithmetic and hypnoptic regularity, get rich, get rich, get rich. Indeed, I think we should make sure that we act to combat that kind of a tendency. As I conclude, I must just say something about the role that the media in the political discourse in the country, including some political analysts and commentators, are sometimes playing in the country. I think as a community and also as members, we should just be mindful of what the media reports. It will be of utmost importance that as they report in the media, we always consult such publications as ANC Today. We visit the ANC offices so that we can be given the information which would be the correct information. Achille Bembe, Umbembe, is a research professor in the history and politics in the University of Witwatersrand. He writes an article in the City Press of the 4th of June, 2006, and he's very conclusive in what he says. He says the current political engagement is no longer serving this goal. The so-called tripartite alliance has outrun its usefulness. It is now becoming a major factor of instability for the country. It would be in South Africa's national interest for it to disband. Factions of the South African Communist Party, the trade unions, and the ANC Youth League should form their own political party and contest the elections in their own name. Now, Bembe concludes his views. He says, what should emerge is a new political mainstream committed to a liberal constitution, to an explicitly social democratic agenda, an Afro-Politan cultural project. Constitution reforms should be introduced. The aim would be to give back to the people as a whole the right to elect their president. Concludes Bembe. What he says, obviously, is in direct contrast with the statement of the National Executive Committee about the alliance. And it is indeed in direct contrast with what I said on the 23rd of September when addressing the General Council of the ANC. That the alliance and its leagues are united in the region and in the country because they understand that to advance a revolution, we have to advance that revolution which is founded in the rock of unity like the volcanoes are founded in the subterranean rock of the earth. Therefore, the alliance will continue to engage on matters of mutual or sometimes conflictual interest. But what must be understood is that the ANC is the embodiment of all the classes and the strata that stands to gain from the cause of social transformation, and that the ANC's role will be to make sure that it unites all these classes and the strata and the social forces that will benefit from the cause of social transformation. Therefore, part of your contribution today is to ensure that we build the unity of the peoples of South Africa, we build the unity of the country as a whole. I am certain, where I'm standing, that even business people themselves will need the ANC. If tomorrow we were to say there is no ANC, indeed there will not be business. Accordingly, let me take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you for coming to this gala dinner of the African National Congress. And thank you very much once again for supporting us. Welcome.